So, hello, my name is Kevin,
Sam.
and this is going to be our first podcast. It's going to be called Life Happens with Kevin, Sam, and company. And basically, we're going to talk about anything and everything. And to be honest, we learn a lot from each other, and we talk a lot about our experiences. And we hope that you can also gain some insight too. So I guess our topic for today is life at Hopkins. I guess a little introduction. Both of us are Hopkins students. I actually recently just graduated, and Sam.
Yeah, I'm a sophomore here at Hopkins.
Yeah.
My major is international studies and economics. So I'm not one of the 50 million pre-meds here.
I'm one of the pre-meds. I studied molecular and cellular biology, and then I did a psych minor. And yeah, I guess we can go into a little bit of the truth of just the Hopkins experience. You want to start off? I guess it means fresh for you. You can talk about freshman year or something like that.
Oh man, all right. What makes this school stand apart? Let's start with that in terms of why this school instead of a different school, especially if you're not pre-med. Because pre-med, sure, we're a pre-med school, but if you're not pre-med, why am I even applying this school? It's a great question.
That is a great
That's
question.
honestly a great question.
I mean, you just ask yourself that. Go for it.
I sometimes struggle with that today, and I think it's just really about the environment Hopkins has. Is Hopkins is very study and academia focused. It really emphasizes studying well over everything else. Quite honestly, I think that even kind of bleeds into the humanities, bleeds into engineering, definitely, where people are, in my opinion, sometimes overstressed. I think a lot of it comes from a lot of their the culture comes from the pre-meds, because that culture of stress for pre-meds is more necessary because of GPA and everything. Which actually, if you want to elaborate on more, what exactly the culture of stress is for pre-meds over here?
Oh man, I guess one of the biggest things I learned over these past few years is mainly just the idea that I feel a lot of Hopkins students, their motivation or what drives them is really fear rather than by passion. And I guess a way to elaborate that is there's always once midterm season hits, which at least for us it means I guess I think 3 weeks into the semester, the midterm season's there until finals, and basically you're just hit with a bunch of midterms, you're hit with so many deadlines, so many projects, and to a point you're basically just waiting for the next one, you're always studying, and at least I try my best to really try to understand the information and try to reflect on it and see how that applies to my future career and what I want to do, how this applies to medicine. But in a lot of times I feel people are always they're on to the next one. It's always about what's next, what's up and coming, and basically that is what's driving them. It's the next deadline that hits, oh man, I gotta, it's fight or flight mode, and I gotta fight this out, and I gotta get going with work. I procrastinate or I stress out. It's I just need to get the work going, and that's what drives them. That's what keeps a lot of the all nighters from happening, or staying up late at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's to be honest with you, real truth, that's I would say a lot of students' lives. All of us here are night owls, and we spend our times basically it's become normal for us to stay up at 3 a.m. and definitely if you come here in the morning and you go here you come here around 7 a.m. It's a ghost town. No one is awake.
And there's probably people going back home from the library after an all-nighter. Honestly, I've done that once or twice. But yeah, I mean, it's just man, this whole culture of I have to get an A and I have to get the best grade possible. I know kids who cry in the shower once they got an A minus pre-meds, and it's just I get it. You need to maintain really high averages of a 3.8, 3.9 to be satisfactory for med school, or not even satisfactory, but to be in a good place for med school. And of course, Hopkins students are all really smart. They came here because they wanted the best, right? They wanted the best undergrad for med school, especially these Hopkins pre-meds, and they want the best med schools usually. So it just perpetuates, and all my friends around me, it's crazy. It kind of rubs off on me in a good way, I guess, but at the same time, it's just this is so unnecessary.
I'm not a fan of that culture whatsoever. I guess to give a background on my I guess experience prior to college. My high school was a lot of collaboration versus competition. That was how it was based off of. You guys don't know me. I'm actually from California. Shout out to Mills High School. Very nice high school. Just like a normal county school, to be honest. But then, like, I think what's actually really crazy, it's like partially, I think the reason why it's that way, why it values collaboration versus competition, it's like how they, I guess, like take in consideration of like the academic. It's like the academic system, and what I mean by that is you're like in this all like you're kind of alone in this process when you're in high school, where like your grade is not really based on the relativity of others.
It's not curved at all.
It's not curved, exactly.
Chill.
So then, like, usually they'll make exams, so it's hard. But then, like, if people they make it so then, like, if you have like a 90 or plus, you have an A in the class.
Yeah, it's like all relative.
Right. But then the thing is, like, at Hopkins, everything is based off of a curve. So then, let's say it doesn't matter if the average is 50 or 60 or 70 or something like that. If you're like above average, you're doing great. But if you're doing below average,
you're done.
Exactly. And you know what that promotes? Like, while you're studying, you're not going to be, like, let's say you have, like, a classmate, and then, of course, sometimes you know information, sometimes you don't. But then, like, a lot of times, like, you want to basically just, like, figure this out on your own. And you want to just, like, do this on your own because what happens if that your friend, like, you know, does better than you? Or, like, someone, like, in your class, they do better than you, and that affects the curve. And that just, like, kind of perpetuates this idea of just, like, competitiveness. That's what I believe. And, like, of course, at least for me, especially during, like, freshman year, I was aware of that. I still wanted to, like, promote collaboration, but even that, the curve system still affected me. Like, a lot of times, I would definitely help out my friends, and we were there for each other. But for people that I did not know, I definitely did not help them out. Like, it's not going to help me at all, you know? It's a little bit, like, kind of selfish of me, but it's kind of like a hard truth because, you know.
It's what it is. Like, I haven't taken as many classes with curves because, like, you know, econ and IS. It's less about the curve for
Okay.
us. But, like, the one class that I distinctly remember with the curve was Calc 2, spring, freshman year. I'm a sophomore now. So I'm thinking, like, all these people in class, like, I don't have to, like, do well. I just have to do better than, like, 2/3 of you. You know, cruising. I didn't do better than 2/3 of them. Kind of got didn't do well in that class, but you know, but I just like let's talk more about like specific examples of like the extreme end, the extreme ends of what like kids will do here. Because I know for me, like you probably have seen a lot more of it than I have. For me, it's just a lot of like Snapchat stories of kids like being like 3 a.m. in Brody, which is our it's like our study space, or official student study space, library.
Yeah.
It'll be like,
it's
back to
24/7.
grind, unfortunately. Just people, especially in midterms, there's a palpable, like, life just falls apart for everybody here. As soon as midterms hit and when finals happen, just, like, everyone looks really stressed, everyone looks dying. You can tell who's a freshman, because the freshmen all have, like, these, like, slaughtered puppy eyes. They're just, like, like, you know, you can tell, that guy's a freshman. He's going through a rough time right now. But yeah, it's just, yeah. Let's see, I'm sure you've had the best stories, though.
To be honest with you, frankly not.
Really?
I think like I just like subconsciously stay away from those people.
I see.
I think like whatever people like I tend to like favor people that like help each other out, where they, you know, you build community, you build relationships, and you really like grow through that process, and you really like help each other out and just like build each other up. But like people that I know for sure that are like very cutthroat, or like they just like they tend to be in it by themselves, and they like kind of like even like backstab you. It definitely hurts. So then like I personally haven't been afflicted, but I definitely know people that have like, you know, that have been afflicted, and it's like something that I don't want to like surround myself with. So then when I like, you know, when I sniff a snake kind of type of deal, I just like I'm like I'm gone. I'm out of here. Like, you know, and I just like I'm on to the next space. I'm just gonna move on. So that's why like I try my best to find like a community, and I think that it is present at Hopkins. It's a bit of a rarity though. I think you just have to find the right people. Yeah, good community that really cares about you. You know, as much as like you would want to care for them. It's like that reciprocity idea. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely hard. It's definitely something of a challenge, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I community. That's an interesting one. I think like community. It's like, what is that even like? I think it's something that a lot of people look for, um, and it means different things to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like it's their whole like experience here, especially. It's just like it's like what they get the most from.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like me, like my community is definitely I identify with guys InterVarsity, the Christian fellowship here. That's like my community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I'm being like quite frank, like the people that I'm like absolutely closest to, and the people that I really like quite frankly, like in those times, like that I lean on, they're not all of them are in that. Honestly, the majority of them aren't in the community. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Community is like where I like put a lot of my time into. I invest a lot of my time into, and I'm like, so that's like my group of people, and this is who I identify with and everything. But they're not the people I'm closest to. Always like they're not the. I think rephrase. They're not the majority of the people that I'm closest to. Like people I'm close to are like individual relationships. And most of them like aren't in that community.
Interesting.
Which is I'm just like I won't necessarily say that's a good or a bad thing. I just think it's a different thing. That's for sure.
Okay. I think I definitely have to agree. I think like having community, it feels like, at least for me, you have like a sense of belonging. Like you belong in something.
That feels
so nice, to be honest.
Like these are my people.
Right. I'm also part of InterVarsity. And I guess the biggest thing for me, in terms of like community wise, is also within like my Filipino Student Association. I think just having they really put in the values of like family oriented, ohana, that type of idea, and that really stuck out with me. And they really favor like inclusivity and like caring for one another. And to be honest, you don't even need to be Filipino, which is crazy. And it's cool. Like I have some friends in InterVarsity actually, that are like Koreans, that are white, that are like some like indigenously like ambiguous people that just want to be part of this because they think that the people there are just really nice and they care about each other. So I think like I definitely like that aspect of it, but for sure the closest thing, like I guess like the closest value, it really comes down to the individual relationships.
Yeah, and that because like of like the individual relationships that I hold dearest, like of the ones like in my grade, they're definitely just like people that I honestly like kind of met by almost by circumstance at the beginning of the year, of my freshman year rather, beginning of my freshman year, and it's like of all like the friendships you make freshman year, they're like the ones that like stick, essentially, and like over time to get closer, and it's just interesting to see how it's all played out for me. It's been it's been a year and a month and a half. I'm on halfway through my third semester out of 8, which feels really weird. Wow, halfway through my third semester. Yeah, it's a weird thing to say.
That's like crazy because then I think like from my own experience, I didn't personally like I had great friends freshman year, and some of them I am still close with. But I think like once you lose that proximity idea, like once you lose that like idea, or once you're no longer like living close to each other, because all my close friends, I think I need even that's an assumption at least for what I gave. It's like all my friends were like within the same floor in the same building as me. And we were all really tight. Like I absolutely like love them, even still now. But then, because like we're no longer like living next to each other and we're not really as involved in the same activities, it's just like that much harder to like hang out.
Yeah.
It's like less convenience.
People just drift.
Yeah.
That's like the interesting reality that I feel with all these freshmen. I'm like, the friend group you have now probably won't be the friend group you have end of freshman year. And most definitely 90% sure won't be the friend you have by the end of like senior year. That's like almost guaranteed.
Maybe.
It's almost guaranteed.
Crazy to think about, right?
Yeah, and like freshman year is all about like hallmates for sure.
Hallmates.
For the most part, proximity is so important because there's so many people to meet.
Yeah.
Classmate. Even now, I find like friends, except for like the very established ones that you move from freshman to sophomore year with. Like a lot of the friends, like new quote unquote new friends you make, or the strength, like relationships you find strengthened, are because of like commonalities like classes.
Oh yeah.
If you don't have those commonalities, it's kind of over. It's just like
that's true.
It's healthy.
Do you know any other like I guess like hard Hopkins truths that you have in your mind?
I like that hard Hopkins truths. I think quite frankly, like sometimes I do notice that. Like, I know, like, there's, like, really smart people. Well, not even really. Everyone's really smart here. Like, I just want to, like, clarify that. But some people just thrive are suited to thrive in this environment more than others.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like that's
The stress.
That's a hard That's a hard reality. Is that no matter how smart you are, it might just be like you're not cut out for this specific environment where it rewards quote unquote competence, and it's not very forgiving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not forgiving at all. And like I have a friend, he's like straight like 4.0, he's like a 3.98, he has a 1 A minus something.
That's crazy.
And he's just really good at studying. He like knows how to study. Like,
yeah.
He has his he actually let me pull it up. He texted me because we were talking about it yesterday. Like he has like he basically just pulls all nighters before all his midterms, and he has like this whole schedule set out for what he does. So it's like from 1:45 to 2:15 a.m. He'll like I don't know if it works well, but he just sent this to me. But it's basically like he pulls all nighters where between like 1 and 6 a.m. he'll like take like little naps and then like cram and then nap, cram, then sleep.
That's crazy.
But like he has a system that he does really well. And I was like asking about it. He was like, "Yeah, like honestly, part of it, like I was like, dude, your confidence must be like a multiplier effect because like you can't." And he's like, "Yeah, you don't learn anything if you're like stressed and if you're like nervous." That makes sense. And he was like telling me because he was like, "Yeah, wish me luck on this midterm. It's gonna be hard, like nervous systems."
Oh yeah.
The weed out for neuroscience. And he was like, "I think I'll do well." He was like, "No, I know I'll do well," and he probably did do well. Because he pulls it off. He just has his confidence and he has competence if he knows how to study. Like he's figured out how to study, and that's the thing. Like not everyone always gets that. I'm still kind of working on that for myself.
Acclimating Hopkins. So how was your experience, like acclimating from like high school into college?
Shoot.
Oh boy, I have a story for that one too.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a process.
You go first.
I definitely high school wise, it was pretty chill to be honest. Like I was very much go with the flow. I have a tendency like we have like homeworks a lot of times, but then I usually would really like I would understand. I'm like a pretty like quick learner. I would like to say until Hopkins came, but but then like I definitely like whenever we had homework, I just did it in class. Like I would understand the material like super fast, all the content, all the concepts, super fast, and then I would always do my homework. And by the time it was like after school, I literally like had nothing else to do. I just hung out with friends. I just chilled.
That's so nice.
Even like the AP classes, to be honest. I think I was lucky. I had good professors too.
Teachers. They're called
teachers. yes. But then like when like Hopkins hit, I definitely had to study more. Everything was just like freshman year. I took like a lot of like bio classes, like advanced chemistry classes. Like I also took physics like that time too. And it's like calc based, and like, oh man, everything just like when I was going to lecture, everything was going through my head. Came one year and just like out the other.
It's so much faster. It's like a fire hose.
It felt like that, and then like to be honest, I had to spend a lot of time studying just because like during that time like a lot of like what I wanted to do within myself was just like to get like good grades, like you said, and what led to that is like if I don't understand the material, I'm gonna hard study on it. And really, like, I didn't spend all-nighters. I don't think I've actually spent an all-nighter at Hopkins. Like, fortunately.
That's amazing. That's actually legitimate amazing.
I'll explain why. Okay. I'll explain why later. But basically, like, I did spend a lot of time studying, though, where up to a point where, like, it kind of consumed a lot of my life. And sometimes it turned out well. Well, so there were definitely times when it did not turn out well whatsoever. Like, one like, story was, like, I think I was taking applied chemistry with lab. It's basically like a 1 semester class that takes into account like basically a whole year's worth of chemistry. Great class, right? It sounds great. But then like I remember the first exam I did okay. I did slightly above average. But then like definitely the second exam I wanted to do better and I studied a boatload for it. Guess like where I laid within like the curve system.
Below average?
I was 3 standard deviations below average.
Wait, that's like a straight F.
I literally cried. I was so scared for like my future. I was a freshman, right? Just wait though. But then luckily that class, it wasn't based off of like just exams. So they took into account like lab and the exam was only worth 10% of my grade. So
dude,
like thank the Lord, like it didn't really count that much. And luckily I did well in the final. So I definitely I was able to make it up. but then like during that time, like I was thinking like, oh man, like, what am I doing with my life? I'm like spending so much hours just like studying,
what?
and like for what, you know? Like you'd always think in like high school where like your effort equates to like the outcome. But like at Hopkins, you have to take into account the realization that like sometimes that's not the case, not the case at all, right? It kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's not like you have to study smart. Like that's what
Big.
I'm realizing.
Boom, exactly.
It's like just because, like I think there's like the whole like you put in a lot of time, you tried your best, if you did, and if you didn't make it, then it's okay. Like it just that sometimes happens. Just accept it. No. If some kid can get 100 and you can't, like you're doing something different. He's doing something.
Doing something different. You know?
Like, and I guess this whole mentality comes from just how unforgiving it is, right?
Oh yeah.
High school, like if you fail something and you're like distraught, you can maybe go to your high school teacher, like,
how can I make it?
Tried so hard, yeah. Here it's like, well, like my friend was actually like texting me about it because they were really upset. They went to office hours because they had done pretty poorly on their midterm.
For what class?
For microeconomic theory.
Gotcha.
And they were like, yo, like, I said, like, I tried the hardest, and, like, the professor was like, you study enough. I was like, ooh, see, it's just like...
You can't ask a professor, though, because they don't know. They don't understand what you're going through. You gotta ask, like, to be honest, you gotta ask that person that got 100, like, what am I doing wrong? What's, like, making you different from me? I'm
starting to realize that, like, it's not, like, about your effort and how much time you're only putting in the library. Mm-hmm. It's really about, like, how you have to go about approaching it. Mm-hmm. Like, how you, like, what needs to be done, and that's what you have to do.
Right. I think, like, going back into the idea of, like studying smart, like, I realized, I think probably sophomore year, like, probably the second semester of sophomore year, I had to, like, figure out how to, like, balance my life, to be honest with you. Like, you know, it's like, you know, they talk a lot about, like, in the future, like, work-life balance and whatnot. You really, like, that's so important. Because during the times when, like, sure, I definitely still study, like, a decent amount, but when I was able to take in the time to, like, spend time with friends, to be able to, like, go to church, to be able to just, like, take part in other extracurricular activities that I want to do, and, like, just, like, volunteer just for fun. Like, I really enjoy those moments, and sometimes it even can mean me just spending time alone, just to be honest, just, like, watching Netflix and just relaxing a little bit, working out, like, you know, we're workout buddies, so, you know, but, basically, when I started to, like, balance out my life and really try to figure out, like, you know, like, sure, studying is still, like, one of my priorities, like, one of my top priorities, but once I started to just, like, say that, like, you know, like, my studying is my priority and everything else is low, and, like basically having that, I guess, like, as my previous, like, mindset, and changing it to, like, sure, my studies is still high, but then everything else is, like, also, like, somewhere close to that, too.
Yeah.
And when you, like, taking the time to take part in those other activities, like, not only did, like, my, like, health and wellness was, like, a lot better, like, my mentally and, like, physically and even, like, spiritually, but also, like, my grades got, like, way better too.
Really?
I definitely took, like, a lot of harder classes and, like, sometimes even higher workloads. Even, like, my last semester, like, I took 21 credits, which is, like,
it's like
that's a lot of classes. I don't really.
That's like 6 classes right there, probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And there were, like, upper level. Some of them were, like, labs, so it's, like, time consuming. But then, like, even during that time, I still spent a lot of time, like, going to church and, like, taking part in my extracurriculars, spending time with friends, and just hanging out, just relaxing. Sometimes going on Netflix, sometimes just working out. You know,
self-care.
Yeah, self-care. And
it actually outputs better.
Oh yeah. And, like, during that time, like, I had, like, one of the higher GPAs I've had, like, through my college experience.
Okay.
I feel like that's, like, a lot of the case. I heard that from, like, other upperclassmen when I was an underclassman too. They said that, like, once I started having a more balanced lifestyle, and, like, sure, I'm going to be spending a lot more time. Like, I'm still going to be spending a lot of time studying, but the idea that, like, I'm gonna make time for other things along with that, it's like, and somehow they still end up doing well. You know, somehow. I think there's, like, a reason as to why that may be. You
just
know?
like you focus better.
Self-care. Yeah, like you said. Yeah.
And I think because, like, you go to college and they're like, you can only be happy in 2 out of 3. Pick 2 out of 3. School, sleep, and social life. What usually happens is kids will just be like, well, school and sleep then, because you can't really live without sleep, honestly. After a while, you start to realize it. And school's like, I'm here for school. So some people have a tendency of just, like, pushing aside social life, and they justify it with, like, It's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
right thing to do.
I did
It's
that
the
freshman
necessary
year.
thing to do.
I definitely did that freshman year.
I can't do that just because I had more time. Humanities, it does help. Economics and international studies, the fact that like the pressure isn't for the grade isn't there. Like sure, I still like honestly I do well, but like that doesn't mean that like it's because I think it's stress. It's really because I have less of the stress of like even if I like do mess up on a midterm,
Mm-hmm.
of course I'm gonna be like crap. I need to try harder, but I'm not gonna be like oh my god, like I need like I'm questioning my pre-med future. I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
gotcha.
all right, well, I have to do better on this. That stress isn't there, and you just like, I see people who have that stress and they get really miserable. There's a lot of like freshman year, a lot of people who really burn out, really get jaded, you get really tired. College is it's a roller coaster, man.
Definitely. I really liked it. I mean, like overall through like my whole like 4 years I was there, or sorry, 3. So
I graduated.
I fortunately I was able to graduate early, so I'm here for my senior year, but just enjoying my time here. Trying to live out my quote unquote senior year, and just seeing where that takes me. I mean, like taking part in this. I really like just like talking to Sam.
Yeah.
We'll also be bringing in other companies sometime soon, getting in different perspectives and whatnot. So I think it'll be definitely a great time.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Any other, I guess, like hard truths? Maybe like now let's get into like more of the pros of Hopkins.
Yeah, no, we can't like if you're watching this and maybe it's because you're listening to Hopkins, are like, oh my god, like Hopkins sounds like a terrible.
It's like a circus show. No, I mean it kind of is, but it's like at the same time there are a lot of great things about it. To be honest.
So wait, let's just review everything we went over so far. So we went over kind of like the study culture, like the stress culture. We went over like the social culture a little bit. Just like went over like those nuances, things like we basically like shit talked Hopkins so far.
A little bit.
Yeah. Pros. First off, like I'll start with like people.
That's what I was thinking.
There's we want to like I just want to make clear like the backstabbing and all that like competitiveness. It'll like it's not like an overarching like atmosphere. It'll like kind of come out like maybe when there's a midterm tomorrow and you're like desperately looking for notes for a chapter and you hit someone up and they're like no, and that's just what it is.
Yeah,
but overarchingly, and that's pretty rare, right? People are like kind of willing to help each other for the most part, depending on the class and the pre-med like major or whatnot. But there's a sense of camaraderie because like everyone's like suffering together.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's honestly like huge. Like the student body, like there's a loyalty of like I know what you're going through.
Like to add on to that, what I really like about Hopkins is people are so transparent about their feelings. Let me give you a little like juxtaposition. Stanford is not at all that case. From what I heard from like friends and just like what I heard about the culture, people put up like a facade. Like they say like I'm fine, but they're not fine. It's like that meme. Like I'm okay or like I'm fine. Everything is fine, but inside there's like turmoil and like everything's like in hell. But like that's especially what I like. I think it's like how we talk a little about communities like let's say university or Filipino Student Association. I think even just like within academics wise, everyone is like going through the same stuff and the same amount of stress.
Everyone's getting slapped around.
Yeah, even like if you're like I'm a science major versus like you're a econ, like we're all still going through a lot of stress. I mean, the professors are like sometimes they can be kind of ruthless. Like, I like to say most of them are nice, but then of course like, we tend to talk about the negative ones. To be honest,
just like they're the ones that you always remember.
Yeah, they're the ones that like kind of break you. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But for sure, like definitely in terms of community, I feel like everyone's so transparent, even like to strangers. Somehow that's like a lot of times that's how people ice break. That's their icebreaker. Oh man, genetics was so hard.
I keep hearing about that.
Yeah,
the genetics midterm. Yeah,
I heard about that too.
Jeez.
I keep on telling like all my friends that are taking that class. They recently went through a midterm and like the first one I heard was like really easy. And it was like the average was a 90%, which is like that's a rarity at Hopkins.
A 90 average, like nothing. It was nothing like that.
Yeah, but then like I heard, I don't know I don't think the scores came out yet, but everyone was like talking within like the discussion board within Blackboard, which is our like learning system or like our school system where we like give assignments and whatnot. They were like basically discussing about how like I thought I did horribly. I don't know what was gonna happen with my future.
Dude.
It's like all of that because like it's a big pre-med requirement to be honest.
When the memes come out about a certain test, you know it's bad.
Oh yeah.
You know when like the Hopkins meme page, it's like Daddy Bloomberg's memes for money eating teens. Check it out.
Oh boy.
When that comes out, you know something's up.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, yeah, there's definitely, you just gotta find the right classes. Like, unfortunately, there are some classes where you have to take it.
It's how it be.
Unfortunately. But then definitely, like, going back to, like, the transparency or, like, the community, academic community, everyone just, like, oh, man, genetics sucks. And then you'll say, like, oh, man, genetics sucks.
Yeah.
And then at least you'll feel, like, happy.
Say after me, genetics sucks.
But then, like, everyone will feel like, you know, like, they feel like they're actually, like, they have like some sort of like identity within that. They were able to find a group where they can like connect with, and that's kind of crazy. It's kind of amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we definitely take that for granted, and I know for sure like some schools they do not have that.
It's how to put it. It's definitely like it's also probably I'd say like a coping mechanism.
Okay.
Like I think like when someone asks you like, oh, like how's it been? It's like acceptable to be like, yeah, like I have like 4 midterms right now, and it evokes raw sympathy because you know it, like you've been through that, so you genuinely feel bad for the person. Like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. You got this, and like, and it's like this very like transparent. I guess I didn't think about that. It might not be like at other schools.
No way.
That like it's just like a very because everyone's suffering and because it is so tough.
In elitist schools, no way, bro, no way.
And it's not like a sign of weakness to be like, dude, like I'm going through a pretty rough time because like. Yeah, everyone's going through a rough time. They know exactly where you're at. Like, you're not weak if you're struggling. You're just normal, right?
Yeah, for sure,
so
for sure.
It's honestly even weirder if you're not going through a rough time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just like a coping mechanism, and it's just like okay to be like vulnerable to people around you.
I think I guess to to add on to that, along with this idea of like people, I guess like the vulnerability aspect, like once people get vulnerable about their grades, they get to become very vulnerable about other things in their life. And like I think like in high school, I've had like great friends, and we all, to be honest with you, I had like this group of like guys that like I'm still really close with. I'm lucky, like we're also pretty tight. But then we just tend to goof around a lot. We just tend to like just make fun of each other and just like tease each other and just like do activities like play basketball and like sometimes go on like road trips. Very much fun. It's just very like, to be honest, it's very like service level, and I still like that. But I still liked it though, I mean, it's still fun.
It's still fun, yeah.
Yeah, but then like for sure at Hopkins, like right off the bat, like with my like roommate Bebop, shout out to Bebop if you are watching, I don't know. But like with him and like also just like a bunch of other people in my life, like we just became very open to each other about like the things that we're going through, whether it's like it is about academics at first, but later on we'll talk about like personal issues where it's like sometimes like within InterVarsity they'll talk about our faith and how sometimes we're beginning to question it, or even personal family issues, or just like sometimes when you deal with a breakup. Oh man, definitely like during like times when like those happen, I feel like it's really cool when people come together and like really support you through that process. Yeah, give you accountability through that, and just like be able to just have someone to like hash it out and just like really help you process it and just be there with you along the way. It definitely, that's like one of my highlights of Hopkins, to be honest, just having those moments with people. Like as much as like I think we are like causing ourselves to like stay up late at night, because like sure a lot of times we do study, but also a lot of times within Brody. And why it is that way is because a lot of times we also have these like late night conversations.
Right. And like that shouldn't be an everyday thing. You shouldn't be staying up every day in Brody, like going to bed at 3 just because you've been like lazing around with people in Brody. Those Brody warriors, man, I just feel bad for them. Like you're getting like the worst of both worlds, basically. You're not really properly socializing because you're in Brody trying to study, and like you're half-assing both things.
Yeah.
And also like you're also not like necessarily getting the best studying because you're just always like trying to like hang out with people in the library.
Right.
But like going back to the whole idea of like, because the 4 years, college in general, regardless of any college you go to, is like so intense. But Hopkins especially, I think it's very intense because it's not like, it's not only is it not forgiving, but there's no like, it's not like, it doesn't try to like handle anybody, right?
What do you mean by that?
I think. So I was talking to my friend's roommate last year. I had a good friend, his roommate last year transferred to Duke, and he came back last weekend, the weekend before. So I saw him at the library. So I was like talking with him, like, oh, like how's Duke? Like, oh, why'd you transfer? And he was like, Duke's administration, like they actively like go out to try to like look out for their students' well-being.
That's nice.
Like what the students want. Like there's
Yeah.
massage chairs everywhere. There's a lot more like programming. There's a lot of stuff happening, not just like for academic speaking, just for like for the welfare of the students. Right?
That's great.
A lot of events happening. It's like you can always, like he said, you can always stay busy with like all these events. There's a lot of social things happening. All this, all that, right?
It's awesome.
And there's honestly like less time for studying. It feels like because there's more people doing all these different things. Hopkins doesn't have that, quite frankly. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like
They don't have a lot of social events.
they do a lot. If you find a lot of social events, you can find it. But I'm talking about like the administration. Like I think it's clear. Like the administration, they do a great job running the school, right? But they're clear. Like their job is to make sure that you have a good academic experience, right? And they can talk about all holistically, like the clubs and everything. Like we want you to have a great college experience, but they're here for the academics. Like it's pretty clear, you know.
Yeah.
And like that's what it's like. It's like no frills academia, not academia, but it's like no frills like college. Like you get what you get. You have to understand you're here to do well, to study well, and also like you're hoping to make good friends. You will make good friends. You'll make great friends because you guys are like basically like quote unquote like ride and die together.
Yeah,
right.
Sure,
Because you guys are gonna go through the crap times together. You go through the nice times together.
Yeah.
And especially, like I noticed that people who were close in high school, it was essentially like they kind of like grew up together for the majority of it. Like really like tight friend groups that grew up together.
Yeah.
So they just know each other very well. At Hopkins, definitely, if you want that, if you want like people that you're really close to, you have to be a lot more intentional about it because you only have 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very intentional and open about yourself, and of course, like you can't just like spill your guts to like every single person you come across. But when you want to like invest in a person, get closer to them, you have to like be very intentional about it, and it pays off because the experience is so much more intense. And so in my opinion, like something more intense is built.
Intense, or you mean like it's just like deeper, like the relationship is deeper?
For me,
what do you mean by intense?
I think intense as in like
you talk about like real stuff.
Great question. You mean? I think and there's in my opinion there's also more things to talk about because so many things are in common.
Okay.
Like in high school, like you're close to your buddies and there's a lot of things to talk about, but quite frankly, like your life is only similar in so many ways because I think you have school life and you also have home life. Those are two different things. You can always retreat to home life. Here, like everything's right here on campus, right? So you're just sharing more experiences, like extracurriculars, like bleed into the night. You might have the same friends, like different friend groups, and everything's like kind of happening. There's a lot more things to talk about. There's a lot more stress to go through. There's a lot more and I'm not articulating this very well, but there's a lot more intense shared experiences to bond over, essentially.
I think I would have to agree with that last point, just because like I told you, like my experience at high school, oh man, it was just like a cruise control.
Exactly, it's just
cruise
easy times.
Easy times.
Yeah. It's like awesome, it's fun, and you're like, yo, these are my bros, but like it's just an easy time.
And then like once college hits, like college is like literally like a freight train. So then like it's great to have friends that are like there with you that also got hit by the freight train.
Yeah, and it's like so easy to go like, do you remember that time where like X when like we both got wrecked by that midterm or this or that, or like when we both pulled it all about our study and like
camaraderie.
Yeah, there's really is camaraderie and shared suffering. I don't know what to tell you.
Shared suffering.
We're not selling this school very well right now. It's like come here because you're gonna have a rough time, but the people you meet here will be really good because you guys are gonna suffer together. I think that applies to all schools, but yeah, people are like for the most part here like pretty honest, genuine because you like. It's just kind of like the culture of it. Sometimes it can maybe get a little toxic where like there's like an outdoing competition of like, oh yeah, you did this while I'm doing this right now. For the most part, people are just, in my opinion, like good-hearted and just trying to get through things and trying to help each other out.
Yeah, I would like to say that for sure. At least I would like to think that a lot of people find people like that, and
Hope
you
so.
know,
Yeah.
I definitely find that within you, and I definitely find that within other people. But for sure, like. I know some people that aren't like that, and I just hope that at least even them, that they find a sort of like nice community where they are building each other up, and hopefully their mindset has changed, Yeah, for sure. I think that just about wraps things up. I think that's a pretty good conversation. If you guys have any questions, if you have any other comments you want to make, let us know. I mean, like we're always very interested. It's an open discussion. it's just between us two, but then it definitely can also go towards you guys too. Really appreciate this opportunity, and until next time.
Yeah, and stay tuned. We're gonna get even more detailed next time. Bring in people, talk about even more specific things. Like we talked about Hopkins today. We get even more specific within Hopkins about different things. So
yeah, I mean, like we definitely have our own fair share of experiences to bring about, and we just hope that you can learn something from us, and we at least overall, like I think like our general message for Hopkins, I would like to say is like there's definitely like a lot of things that can be seen as like kind of negative towards Hopkins, but there's also a lot of great things about Hopkins, and I think from my own personal experience, it's like what you make of Hopkins that matters.
absolutely.
Where it's like its opportunities has like a bunch of great like research opportunities, especially for like medical or like for pre-meds. I'm pretty sure there are a lot in econ too. They have a lot, like you said. Sam also is like partaking in like a econ research, which is like really amazing.
It's a rough time.
Okay. But then for sure, I think like find the right like set of group. Like I think just this applies to just college in general. Find a good group of people. Find your niche. Find things that you enjoy doing, and really just make the most out of your time at Hopkins. At just any college, whether it be Hopkins or not.
And you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like at the end of it all, even though there are these bad things, overall, I can't see myself in any other school. I've like visited in. I live in California, or my family lives in California, and I like one of the other schools I want to go for were like a lot of the UCs, and I'm pretty sure those are nice. I definitely like a lot of my friends are, and they really like it. But in terms of like even when I explored a lot of the East Coast, go to like Boston and New York, I wasn't as much of a fan of it, to be honest with you. Of course, I never took the classes. I didn't really know the professors, and I didn't really engage myself with much of the community. And it was all from like a third-person perspective from like a friend who is a student in that. But I mean, I can't like Hopkins is really nice. I think I would like to say even like Baltimore as a whole too. I think it's really developing to be a really great place. I think crime rates may still be a little bit high.
That's for another day.
That's for another topic, but
Yeah,
for sure, I definitely do like my time at Hopkins and just like Baltimore within itself. I think it's great to see how it has grown, how it has changed, and how it's like developing for the better. Yeah, for sure. All right, I guess sign out.
That's a wrap. Word. Kevin said.
All right, see ya.
Peace.
Go for it.